All right, good morning, everyone. It is 8:49 on the morning of June 25th, 2021, and this is my morning strategy session. Yesterday was Thursday, and I actually signed off from yesterday's video saying, hey, have a happy weekend, everybody, have a good weekend. But as it turns out, today is Friday, not yesterday. So bonus, I get an extra day of trading this week. Okay, so first up is Nike. And Nike had an outstanding earnings report. It beat by nearly 82%. So it is catching a bid. It's up 13% pre-bell. If it opened right now, it would open up at $150.82. I suspect there's going to be some profit taking this morning on Nike. So my entries are between 147.27 and 144.88. We'll see where it opens, and we'll see how it acts after it opens. As of lately, my levels haven't been getting hit on the large caps. They've been opening up. These stocks have been opening up. And they might dip a little bit, but they don't go all the way down to my levels. And then they kind of continue to float higher for at least the morning. So I'm going to see how this one acts. I'll have it up on the 1 minute rather than the 10-minute chart. And I will probably look for momentum setups on Nike, even though it's not really a momentum type of stock. It doesn't move in the same way. I will be looking for a dip. Perhaps we'll have to see. We could end up with a dip at the open, and then if it comes back up over top of the open, then that'll be a buy. So these levels, these 147.27 and 144.88. If I were to guess, I would say they probably won't come into play. We'll see. If there's a lot of profit taking right off the bat on the open, then I ought to be able to get an entry in here. But if not, if it opens, dips down, and then climbs back over top of its open again, then that will be an entry for me. Next up, KMX. KMX is CarMax. It also had really good earnings. It had a beat by almost 61%. Again, same scenario as with Nike. And recently, with the way the large caps have been behaving, they just they dip down a little bit. They don't go to my levels, and then they start running back up again over top of the open. So I'll be looking for that trade setup. FFHL. So I have Fibonacci up on FFHL. This is a small cap. Now this only has 3.26 million shares outstanding, and the float is 1.13 million shares. So I'm going to keep this one on watch. As of right now, it's up 61, almost 62%. With a stock like this, it's hard to say. It had a good earnings. Let's see, where are the earnings? Let's go to the earnings report real quick. Okay, Fuwei Films announces its unaudited financial results. The Chinese companies, for whatever reason, don't have to follow GAAP rules, accounting rules. So sales rose 22.1%, and quarterly earnings per share, basic and diluted, was 9.6 renminbi. However, the Chinese say their currency of 9.6 renminbi per share. I really don't know how to gauge that. It's sort of like I grew up on the standard system, so I'm used to inches and feet and so forth. And so when somebody talks in meters or, cubic centimeters and so forth, liters and so on, I don't have a really good, you have to translate that. You have to use your like mind calculator to roughly estimate, the translation. I think renminbi is something like 6 to 1 US dollars. So that's something like $9 or something a share. 116 million renminbi. So if it's 61, 6 to 1, then we're talking, I don't know, was that about $16 million in revenues? And anyway, I'm just watching it for a trade setup. I'm going to move my Fibonacci down to wherever the open is, and I'll keep it on watch. I really don't know how it's going to trade, and I'm really only looking for momentum setup anyway, but I have the Fibonacci up as sort of a guide. So if it starts to follow the Fibonacci lines, then it'll give me a little bit more confidence for an entry on a momentum setup. And then I had a comment recently from a gentleman named Ravi. Ravi, thank you very much for the comment. LMNL, this is a small cap biotech, and I look back at my charts, and apparently I don't remember if I traded this or not back here on the 21st of June, but I have a level here on it for $5.81 for some reason. There's probably, if I go back and look, let's find June 21st here. I'll go back on the 1 minute, June 21st, 21 June. I don't see my line. June 21, right? Oh no, that's June 7. Okay, let's go back to June 7 over here. There we go. Okay, yeah, I remember trading this now. Yeah, and this was a nice bottom pin on this day. And so I used that as an entry to, I don't remember, I probably didn't get too terribly much on this trade. But the fact that it just keeps going down, Ravi, this is just kind of the way small cap biotechs work. And so I did a little bit of extra research, and the first thing that I did here is, this is pretty small, so it's kind of hard to see. Small cap biotechs, they're a gamble as an investment goes. I only trade them. Occasionally I'll invest in a small cap biotech. As an example, PRPO. I'll go back here to PRPO real quick. This is one that I invested in way back here, and started picking up a pretty decent amount of shares here during this major dip, and then sold it as it ran up. So I was in this for about $1.29 a share. So, I mean, I started averaging the PRPO back here, but I did a lot of due diligence on PRPO. So I don't know a heck of a lot about LMNL. I've only looked at it today for the first time. Let's go to my dailies here. Oh, no, I have to type it in. And so I went and I looked at the product pipeline. You can go and look at this on their web page. So it looks like they've gotten one drug, Ribplasm, past phase 3. And then the NDA, I've forgotten what NDA BLA stands for. But essentially, what to tell you about this, I don't really know exactly what to tell you about it. So earnings here in 2017, on revenues of 30.13 million, net income was negative 84.5 million. Then 2018, revenues of 19 million, net income is negative 150 million. Then 2019 revenues were 3.7 million, and net income was negative 174.89 million. And then in 2020, revenue is 2.47 million, and net income was negative 90.44 million. So, on this right here, you've got two data points where it looks like earnings and revenues. Revenues are still on the way down. I mean, revenues from 30 million to 19 million to 3 million to 2.47 million. That's not the direction that you want to see revenues going in. Now, net income is turning up, but it's still quite negative. I mean, this company is just hemorrhaging cash. I don't know how much cash they have. I'd have to go and look at their financials to see, how they're sitting. Let's see, more financials: number of employees, shareholders, price to sales ratio. Let's look at cash, balance sheet, non-current liabilities, total equity, liabilities, debt. Yeah, Ravi. This is just not looking like it's gonna be anything to trade for a while. Funds from operations, yeah, it's just changes in working capital. Let's look at the income statement here for total operating expenses are going up. I'm sorry, no. Operating expenses are going down. Where I've forgotten where to find. I think it's balance sheet. Let's see, I'm not seeing any cash on hand. Current assets are 57.68 million. Total assets 226. Oh, let me look at 2020. Yeah. It just LMNL doesn't look all that great to me. I think there are better things out there to look at. So just kind of, if you like this company, keep an eye on it, put it on watch, and look for a really good deal on it. That's, that's really, I don't know, I don't really see much there worth keeping an eye on, Robbie. So. Hey, thanks a lot for the comment. Good luck with everything. Yeah, that's going to be pretty much, let's see, moving on to the broader indices. If the SPY opened up right now, it would open up at 0.18% higher than yesterday's close. The VIX is still doing its best to break down below this resistance. Well, support. It's support. I like to call it resistance. I mean, really, because what you want to see is the VIX going down. This is the fear index. And so it's bouncing around down here below, or bouncing down here on the support line. And I'll make it a little bit brighter. And I imagine that we've probably got, here's one test of the support line. Here's a break of the support line, then it picked back up. I imagine that there's probably going to be a third test of this support line right here before it breaks through. Kind of seems like some of these things operate in the same way baseball does. It's 3 strikes and you're out. So when you've got something like the VIX testing a support line, it'll come down once, test it, come down twice, test it, and then on the third time, it's 3 strikes, you're out, and then it'll break. So I'm waiting for just a little bit longer until I get really bullish on the SPY, and that's for the VIX to break down below this resistance or support line. And then let's see. Oh yeah, crypto. Let's check out what's going on. Let's check out what's going on with Bitcoin real quick. Crypto, Bitcoin. So right now, what is in play, what is dominant on the Bitcoin chart is this head and shoulders pattern. Now there are four things in a head and shoulders pattern is a reversal pattern. So when a head and shoulders pattern plays out successfully, it means that there's a reversal. And there are there are four key components to a successful head and shoulders reversal. Those components are a left shoulder that's lower than the head, and then a right shoulder that's lower than the left shoulder. So you've got a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder. Now, there's been a bit of a distortion recently. I've seen people calling a head and shoulders when there's not actually a head and shoulders there. There are people that are calling a head and shoulders when the right shoulder breaks above the left shoulder, even the right shoulder breaks above the head. That's not a head and shoulders pattern. This is a head and shoulders pattern. The fourth component is the neckline, and the neckline needs to point in the direction of the reversal. So you'll see here, there are a lot of people calling this, this, and this a head and shoulders pattern, and it's not the case. And the reason that's not the case is, although you have a left shoulder that's lower than the head and a right shoulder that's lower than the left shoulder, you've got a neckline here that's moving up. And that is not a head and shoulders reversal pattern. That is just a continuation of the pattern that's dominant at the moment. And so right now, this support line is important on Bitcoin right here. This bottom support line is important, but it's not a part of a head and shoulders pattern. It's only a part of the dominant bearish trend that this smaller head and shoulders established. So Bitcoin has some work to do before it's out of the woods. In fact, actually what it needs to do is it needs to break this neckline, back test it, and move higher, and then also move higher than the height of this peak over here at 42,000 even. So Bitcoin is bearish for the time being. Once it breaks that pattern, then we'll be ready to go on the bullish side. But this pattern, it could take months. It could take months to play out. It could take a long time for this to play out. If it breaks below this support line right here, then I'm looking at the previous 19,666 as support. And if it breaks below that, then Bitcoin's going down to, I don't know, 10,000. It's hard to say. 13,000. I don't really know. I'll figure it out then. And the reason that I'm keeping an eye on Bitcoin is because I'm interested in averaging into some of the Bitcoin miners, Sino and Vestview. And Coin isn't really a Bitcoin miner per se. That's more of an exchange. So it seems to be trading congruently with Bitcoin, but the brokerages tend to make money regardless of which direction the market is going. And so a coin-specific brokerage, it'll make money whether or not Bitcoin goes up or down. And there's so many different coins to trade and so many different directions on those coins. I think Coinbase is going to be an attractive investment prior to Bitcoin's eventual move back up. And I do think that Bitcoin will eventually move back up, but it might take months and years before Bitcoin recovers from its current bearish trend. So I'm being patient with those investments. Okay. So now that's pretty much the end of my strategy session. Good luck out there, everybody. Keep your risk tight. Click like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, and I will see you at today's recap. I am out.